This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there, live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty. Welcome to a special, as you can tell, near Halloween installment of MWF Extra, joined by a man that I'm sure will introduce himself.
The one and only Club Cam, Lady Killers out of the doghouse, Dan.
Well, now is that your Halloween costume, or is that just day-to-day garb?
Halloween costume.
Oh, it is
No, this is every day. This is how it gets. The lifestyle and the destination all in one package. You don't want a piece, you want the whole thing.
Well, I find it very interesting that, you all but demanded time to talk about the big event Saturday night, November the 13th, 20th anniversary as we go back to the 90s at Memorial Hall, Melrose, Massachusetts. An event in and of itself that should be a documentary with the scandal going on with Memorial Hall, City Hall, but we won't go there right now. But it's going to be a big night for you, big night for the Uprising. As usual, as Cena Sr. and I disagree about certain things that have gone on within that organization, look at where the talent you bring in is gone. Execution of Malonis, who will not be with us November 13th. I guess he's away on Uprising business. Ring of Honor standout. Christian Casanova you brought into the faction. He is now the NXT North American champion as Carmelo Hayes. Brian Pillman Jr. you brought in, victorious over Lance in Hawaii. He's an AEW. I mean, you just continue to not only take stars, but make stars, as you had Vicky Guerrero, could be her right now checking in.
With you?
Well, hey, I like Vicky.
Wow.
I'm sure she'd like to rub in my face that the Houston Astros wound up beating the Red Sox, but that's a different story for a different time. But, I mean, we had a chance to talk before the broadcast. I'm very impressed with what you have done. As they always say, don't make a lemon, make lemonade. You have the only two-time champion in the history of Boston Wrestling, MWF, Slick Wagner Brown. Mm-hmm. But what about these new faces that are going to be, some debuting, one we saw in the past losing to Christian Casanova last time. Tell us about that.
I have a talented group of people in Club Cam.
Yeah.
Coming to the Millennium Wrestling Federation.
What is it about Trey Lamar that you saw in that match against Christian that said, you know what? Christian's gone. I want to go out and buy him. Because I think you look at it more as business acquisitions than it is signing talent in some ways, right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, everything's an investment.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that these guys have so much talent and so much to offer, it would be stupid not to bring them. Because who else? Who else do we got? Who else does the Millennium Wrestling Federation have? It's going to stand
a lot of great hungry young
against
athletes that are going to be
Anyone
there.
in Club Cam. I don't know if you can bring competitors on November 13th. They're going to be able to stand up against what I have.
Well, let's continue then. You found a guy that I feel has a lot of potential, a great size, a great athlete, even great verbiage, well-spoken. Darlie Decimo, and the T is silent, apparently.
The T is silent.
Yes. I had to remind Cena Sr. of that. Now, how did you go about bringing Decimo into the fold?
Me and Darlie?
Yeah.
Oh, man, me and Darlie, we go way back.
Way back?
We do.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah. We went out one time, right? Ubered out to Boston. I got pissed drunk. He had to be my babysitter, but he made sure that no one messed with me. I mean that. I hit on every girl. I didn't give a crap about what I did. But you know who I had to protect me? Darlie. You know who kept everybody in line? If anybody was going to pick on me, it was Darlie. Darlie is my proverbial doorman, if you think about it. That's how he'll be on November 13th, too, and I'm very excited to see what he has to offer.
Well, I was excited that we were able to put together a deal to bring the man into the company, but I don't know, maybe if I should say it was unexpected that you'd go after him and try and sign him, but you talk about another big man, Execution of Malonis. I don't know what this Uprising business is he's away on, but...
Big Money Maloney.
Wrecking Ball Legursky. You talk about a monster of a man.
Wrecking Ball.
Why the need where you already have Malonis to add yet another giant 6'4", 400 pounds into the operation.
Honestly, ever since I started watching wrestling, I fell in love with Batista. And Batista was the guy that made me say, I want to be a wrestler. And it's that sort of big man, those monsters that you need, that I need,
Yeah.
that I like. Right? Who do you have? Who does Johnny Fabulous, what's he going to do on the November 13th? Who does he have against that's going to stand toe-to-toe with Wrecking
You
Ball?
got someone like Jay Freddy, longtime MWF standout.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And how many times has he been a MWF champion?
None.
Okay, so stand corrected.
Die-Hard Eddie Edwards will be in competition. Two-time
Really?
Impact Wrestling heavyweight champion. JTG of Cryme Time. Myron Reed, who's really made a name for himself in Major League Wrestling. We could go on and on about that, but I want to focus in more on what you're doing. To round out the top five, almost like a starting five, a pitching staff in baseball or a starting five in the NBA, you talk about Slick Wagner Brown, the only two-time MWF heavyweight champion in company history. Trey Lamar, who I really see big things coming from. Dolly Decimo, the T is silent. The monstrous Wrecking Ball Legursky. What do you take right from national television?
Oh, you know it, baby.
Well, do you want me to say it or do you want to say it?
Oh, no. He needs no introductions, but you can give him one.
Jora Joel. Now, I mean, did you have to come to some kind of an agreement with Matt Hardy, where he's involved with Matt Hardy's stable in AEW?
You know, I don't like to discuss business out loud because it's not polite. But maybe, sort of, kind of. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, I got Jora Joel in my inventory.
Inventory?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't know it was Black Friday yet.
The guns are locked and loaded, baby.
I have to say
we are
this.
fully loaded.
There are a lot of things about you I don't like.
Wow.
Johnny Cena Sr. detests you as he's at Halloween Horror Nights down in Orlando, Florida as we speak. I don't think he'd be, you know what? Actually, I think he'd love for you to be in the studio right now.
He's probably scaring the guests.
What's that?
I said he's probably scaring the guests down there.
Well, I don't know about that.
With a mug like that, I don't know.
But man, you had the balls to go out and put this ensemble together of, I mean, dangerous men and great athletes, I guess would be the ways to describe it. I mean, look at the size of Decimo, and then Legursky's even bigger than him. Slick Wagner Brown, he competed in the first match on the first show in MWF history, September 28th, 2001.
Wow.
And then you have a hot up-and-comer like Trey Lamar.
Hell yeah.
Last time, before the virus unfortunately destroyed things, you had AEW's Vicky Guerrero sharing some wisdom with you, and now you have AEW's Jora Joel as part of the faction. So, I mean, this is some top-heavy material. If I am one of the superstars of Boston Wrestling MWF, unaffiliated with a faction, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah. Club Cam is going to be a mountain of flesh come November 13th.
My question is this. As you know, President David Reese now is affiliated with AEW himself. He wants to reintroduce our World Championship in a different way than we had it before. How would you go about looking at your faction of individuals and decide you're the one that's going to get the shot?
Well, let's see who impresses me the most on November 13th.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of shoes to fill and a lot of big shoes to fill, too.
Well, like we said, some missing pieces that have gone on, like Carmelo Hayes and Brian Pillman, Tommaso Ciampa, former member of the Uprising. He went on to great success in NXT. Luke Robinson was the finalist on Tough Enough the year Steve Austin was the host. Velveteen Dream, well, he kind of turned into a Velveteen Nightmare, but that's a different story for a different time. But, I mean, the Uprising, whether it's been you, Cena Sr., JBL, it hasn't necessarily been about the quantity, it's been about the quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you agree with that. I'm glad. Well, what about John Cena Sr.? Now, this is a vendetta. I don't know what it's going to take for it to end. He hates you.
He's hated me since I was like 19 years old.
when he brought you on as almost like his flunky.
Yeah.
And then you...
Yeah, I looked like Donald Duck wearing that little polo and the blue shorts. Remember that?
No.
I do.
Oh, well, so you have a lot of resentment towards the man.
I don't hate anybody.
Well, you humiliated him with that little Johnny video. I don't know if
Yeah.
his response to that was rather fiery, but at some point you're going to come face to face. How are you going to interact with John Cena Sr.?
Well, it's a good thing that I am not coming alone to this party on November 13th. Am I right?
Is that a threat to John Cena Sr.?
No, but I'm just saying it's a good thing I'm not alone. And I hope he has his entourage as well.
Do you think he has an entourage? You know,
I
he's made, in his 16 years with the organization, he's made a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
A lot of enemies. And I think you're well aware of that yourself from your work with him. I mean, he stabbed a lot of people in the back, including yours truly. We're trying to have a professional working relationship now, but, I mean, would I trust him as far as I can throw him? Probably not. He does a lot of great charity work. I'll give him credit. His son does the same, as you know from your time on American Grit on the Fox Network. But John Cena Sr. made the accusation that for all of your claims that, you know, you invested wisely with this money you made off of American Grit and the Fox Network, that you were only some castaway that was making $300 a week. How do you respond to that accusation?
You know, it's so funny that he goes after me. For whatever reason, Johnny Fabulous has always had this laser focus on Club Cam. Ever since I was a wee little 19-year-old boy who didn't know his left hand from his right or something, whatever they say, you know. But that's a type of guy who's always just gone after me, right? And if you want to look at that show that I was on 6 or 7 years ago, right? I forget everybody I was on that show with, but if you want to talk about losers, you can look at them, right? Because there's plenty of them. I am not, by any means, the biggest loser from that show. And you could go back and rewatch it, Johnny, because it seems like you have selective memory. But maybe that's just you getting old in your old age, because you seem to just weasel and try to nickel and dime your way out of everything. Look at this, 43 grams of sugar. Wow, you are quite the sweet treat, my friend, but nothing goes down quite smooth, right?
Well, Johnny's going to have quite the inventory. He's got Fabo Pop. He's got billion-dollar bills.
Johnny.
He's got cigars. Would you want a John Cena Sr. cigar?
Do I want a cigar?
I don't know.
That guy.
He insinuated you wanted more than cigars, but that's a different story for a different time.
That sicko has so many tricks up his sleeve, trying to weasel his way, nickel and dime everybody for Fabo Pop. It's great to be fabulous, but man, oh man, it's good to be Cam. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because all these years of me ever working for the Millennium Wrestling Federation, you have had this laser focus on me, Johnny, to just bury me. Every chance you get, I'm worthless, I'm a loser. Hey, why don't you open up your eyes and take a look at all the talent in New England, and you're going to find that I'm at the back of that line of losers in New England wrestling, okay? But you seem to have just a selective memory of how awful I am and how bad I am and how terrible I was on your son's show 6 or 7 years ago, holding a grudge like that, like a hot coal just ready to throw it at me. But the only one you're hurting is yourself. Because if you want to look at that show, I ain't the biggest loser from it. Nope, far from it. You hate me because I'm successful. You hate me because I'm handsome. You hate me because I get more girls than you ever have. And I don't need no cheap soda to woo all them either. Okay? So when it comes to November 13th, I hope that you're ready to face Club Cam, because we are going all bark, all bite, all Cam, all night.
Wow. How do you really feel? Do you think that maybe there is some level of jealousy with Cena Sr.?
Do I think? I know.
Why do you think he's... Well, you probably just explained why you felt there was that level of jealousy. Do you think he wishes he could rewind the clock of life and become Club Johnny back in the 60s?
Club Johnny in the 60s. Hey, you know what? I am very open to any business proposals come November 13th. There's a lot of shoes to fill, just like we said in the MWF come November 13th. If he wants to come up to me and have a truce, hey, I'll hear him out. But I'm not crawling back to him, that's for sure.
Well, he's putting up 10 grand for you to pick a member from the Uprising against the athlete of his choosing. I don't know if you've signed on the dotted line since you've been here tonight, but will this $20,000 clash happen? I know to you, 10 grand may be pocket change, but you know, it adds a little sizzle to the whatever the match may be.
Where's the contract?
You're willing to sign the paperwork?
Yeah, sign it right now. I'll have my lawyers look at
10
it.
grand versus 10 grand, you and Johnny.
10 grand. I spent worse.
Oh, I've heard about your Vegas tabs, but that's a different story for a different time. But fans, before we go, I got to mention this to you. Again, you talk about a man that has gone out of his way to make enemies. Him and the MWF Southern Champion, the down there, the Warhawk, but up here, psychotic, psycho stalker Dylan Cage.
Oh, my God.
That, I could not believe that Johnny would book him to be with us November 13th in an attempt to ruin an event 2 decades in the making. I'm not happy about it at all. David Reese wanted Cena and I to work in a collaboration. He did this on his own. I'm livid. I don't know what you think of Dylan. I know your interactions with him have been somewhat limited, but I mean, the last time we saw him as the virus was winding down, he had videos with the Satan logo in them. I mean, there's a few screws loose.
A few.
There's some pieces missing from the puzzle.
I think he's a junk pile that's trying to operate at full capacity. And he can't. And it blows my mind how this guy still thinks that he has what it takes. Especially with somebody, especially with Club Cam in Millennium Wrestling Federation. And he wants to come out like he's still relevant. How long has he been in MWF?
He debuted in 2001.
I've seen that guy like twice in my entire life. And yet somehow he still continues to just insert himself into my spotlight. Right?
You think Dylan Cage down in Indian country is trying to steal your spotlight?
I don't know what he's trying to do. He's still trying to stay relevant. And then guess what? It ain't working for you.
All right, wrestling fans. Well, it was interesting to have Cam with us. A little different than Johnny, which is always refreshing. But again, the Uprising through Club Cam has put together an elite stable of athletes you're going to see in competition Saturday night, November the 13th, as we go back to the 90s. You have WWE Hall of Famers like Bob Backlund and Bushwhacker Luke, Marty Jannetty, the Doctor of Style Slick, Doink the Clown, Duke the Dumpster Droese, and Aldo Montoya. Plus, you have special guests like Cena Sr. himself, Vice President Oscar of Men on a Mission, throw your hands in the air, Diehard Eddie Edwards, as we mentioned, JTG, as we mentioned, and again, the big starting five of the Uprising, Slick Wagner Brown, Jora Joel of AEW, hot up-and-comer Trey Lamar, Darlie Decimo, Tia Silent, and Wrecking Ball Legursky, superstars of Boston Wrestling MWF. Watch out, the Uprising means business. And I'd say with some of the size of these men and the athleticism of this men, it could be a painful night for certain competitors. Any final thoughts before we go?
Johnny, hope you're ready for November 13th. Because I know I am.
All right, Wrestling fans, tickets and VIP packages on sale now. BostonWrestling.com. We'll see you live Saturday night, November the 13th. Wrestling fans, years have become months that have become weeks, and now we're talking days and even hours as Boston Wrestling MWF celebrates its 20th anniversary, going back to the 90s. Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts. The superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow will take part in a live wrestling event, autograph photo, fan fest, VIP exclusive Q&A, plus the kickoff to our annual Paul Bear Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. After Jimmy Kimmel embarrassed Melrose for, well, being Melrose, we're also going to have a superstar costume contest where best dressed wins an awesome autographed prize. On November the 13th, you'll see and meet two-time WWE World Champion and Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke, WWE Hall of Famer Alundra Blayze, a.k.a. Medusa, from WCW, WWE Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion Marty Jannetty, the Doctor of Style Slick, Doink the Clown, Duke the Dumpster Droese, Portuguese Man of War Aldo Montoya, plus two-time Impact Wrestling World Champion Diehard Eddie Edwards, JTG of Cryme Time, Cena Sr., Oscar of Men on a Mission, AEW's Jora Joel, and more. VIP packages and tickets are on sale now at BostonWrestling.com. We'll see you live November the 13th.